Good morning. This is Maria Quattrone with Be the Solution podcast. And today I welcome my guest, Tracey, the safety lady Hawkins. Good morning, Tracey.
Good morning, Maria.
So today I was going to play that little video, Tracey, but I don't know exactly how to do it. So we're going to skip that this morning. We roll with the punches, right?
That's what we do, especially in this virtual world.
Well, I think having you on this week is extremely important with what has happened in our real estate industry with the young man just this week. So I would hate to say excited to talk to you about safety, but I am excited to talk to you about safety because I think it's something that's extremely important in our industry. And that's why you're training, and you've been doing this for 26 years.
I have. This is my passion and it is my profession. I am here to stay.
So I started to ask you behind stage about how you guys started, but why don't we dive right into that? How did you start talking about safety?
About my sister hates the counting. I have a twin sister and she doesn't want the numbers, but about 35 years ago, my sister and I got our real estate licenses, and I decided the real estate sales was not necessarily a fit for me. She's still selling strong 30 something years later. I wanted to do something that no one else was doing, and I wanted to do something that would serve people. So I was doing a lot of research in the entrepreneur magazines, and I found the safety business. No one else was really doing it. I opened up, I was working and I started part-time selling pepper spray and alarms to local stores around town on a wholesale basis. And then I decided I wanted to open my own store. So I had a store at a mall, and I had the security store. I had all kinds of safety and security stuff, from child proofing, auto safety, personal safety. My pepper spray was there, home security. So I did that for a few years, and then I decided I need to talk. I'm a natural talker. And so I started speaking at real estate companies around Kansas City, around town. And then that went well.
Was that because you already knew real estate and you thought, well, realtors should be safe? Like, how did that idea to segue into real estate? Is just because you were an agent at the time?
And then I wonder if some of it had to do with my sister. I don't know if she said something that triggered me, or if I just looked around and I'm thinking, my sister's out here doing this. Maria, I really don't know what triggered me, but somehow, some way, it was the perfect fit. Me having been an agent, and then now I'm in the safety business, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. But then also I was talking to regular people about safety. I had a general safety program, just regular people, how to be aware, how to trust your instinct, how to make your home safe and secure. And then, so I did that for regular people, and I did it for real estate agents. And so then the real estate part of it really took off. And that's what I started getting people reached me from other states, and it's like, oh wow, now I'm a national speaker, not just speaking here in my own hometown. So there was a need, and like you said, be a solution. No one else was doing it.
No, it's a great solution. So let's talk about how you start to speak, because I think it's important were you a perfect speaker coming out of the gate? Were you just ready to go, or did you have a little bit of trepidation in that?
I can, and I know my mom will agree. I've never had a problem speaking or talking. But what I did in the beginning is I wasn't exactly sure of how to do this, and I was unsure of my knowledge. So what I did is I partnered with a local police officer, a crime prevention officer, and I also partnered with a local rape crisis counselor. And the three of us, we were the show. So I scheduled us to be in different offices, and the officer talked about the law enforcement things. He talked about crime in the area and things from his perspective. The rape crisis counselor was able to talk about how to not be a victim of rape and assault, and then to offer resources. And then I talked about safety. So we did that for a while. And then after a while, it's like, okay, I've got my footing. I know what I need to do. So I encompassed what I learned from them. I did my research. I dived in, and I made myself an expert. I studied everything real estate safety. I attend so many of those how to speak and how to create a good program presentation. So I had to educate myself until I was comfortable enough to carry the show on my own. And then after that, I haven't stopped since then.
And how long has that been?
That I want to say that process was maybe a year or so that I worked with, I guess, my training wheels. And then after that, I just did my research, and my mom's an educator. She's a teacher. So I pretty much had no choice. I did what I learned to do.
Yeah.
So I did my research, and I value education. So I did it.
So were you going around speaking at different offices all over the country?
Well, when I started, I spoke, and I know my Kansas City real estate agents probably got tired of me. I did the new agent orientation at the Association of Realtors. We have Reese Nichols here, which is now a Berkshire Hathaway company, but back then it was like the biggest company in town. I went to every office, and not just the Reese Nichols offices, but I went to every office, every real estate company in town, from Remax to what do we have? ERA back then, Coldwell Banker. Every single real estate office got to see Tracey, the safety lady, during their sales meetings. So I had like 20 minutes to get as much in as I could. The Reese Nichols office, they had a formal training program. I was on the agenda. I had a safety segment on that program. So people had an opportunity to see me 3 times, one at the association, one at their company. And if they were a member of the biggest company in town, they saw me at that training. So I just went big.
Sounds like it. So, let's go back to last year. This time last year, actually, they just shut down. They just shut down the MBA. They were, we didn't know, but here in Pennsylvania, getting ready to shut us down, as real estate was not essential for 10 weeks. And so we're the right before the storm is hitting, and you're a speaker. What did that do to change your business? Imagine that you were booked, and then you were getting cancellations out the wazoo.
And that's so true. I had some events, and believe it or not, they're still pending. So some events, they said, we'll hold off for a little while and see what this is. And we're still holding off. And some said, hey, we've got to offer education. Some of the associations and companies said, we still need to offer education, get on your laptop. So I had to, once again, and I know everybody hates the word now. You know the word, Maria.
Pivot.
Exactly. That bad word. I had to pivot.
First word now, right?
Right.
One word. Pivot. That's pivot.
Now everybody's like, So I had to pivot. I had to invest in equipment. I had to get a better camera. I had to get lighting. I had to get a new laptop, microphones. I had to up my game. And then people were saying, can you do this online? It's like, I've done it once or twice before. And so now a bulk of my business, and last year, so many of my, everything was online. So I had to walk across the hall to my home office, sit down in front of my camera, and get to work. I'm a master at the PowerPoint now and doing this online. So a lot of my gigs, my speaking gigs, are online still, but I do have some in-person ones on the calendar, and everybody's saying, if everything works out, we'll see you here. So everything's kind of moving into, I would say, not back into real life, but there's going to be a hybrid, Maria. I honestly believe that the virtual is not going away. It's too easy, it's too efficient, too effective. It's not going away, but people will incorporate that with real life speaking as well as online. So I'm ready for either one.
We can reach so many people with our message by doing this. I mean, we're live today on StreamYard, on YouTube and Facebook, and then this will get, repurposed, as they say, for content. And I think it's, as much as I love being in person, I'd say that this is more efficient. We never would have had this before. A year ago, if I called you and said, and it was January 2020, and I said, Tracey, I want to do this training on the Zoom, you would be like, what are you talking about, girl?
Exactly. What is that? Exactly.
Right. So yeah. I was reading through some of your material, and I saw that you're talking about how to be safe on Zoom. What's that about?
Well, back in the beginning, I had to talk about that, what do you call it, photo bombing, or when they would Zoom bomb, where I had to teach people how to secure your Zoom presentations. Here's how to make sure, I call them interlopers, don't come in and disrupt your meeting or disrupt your event, whatever it is. But then Zoom immediately stepped in and they solved that problem. So now I have to talk about Zoom breaches. So I have to make sure that everyone knows that they have to protect their information. And that just goes back to just knowing that your information is secure. So we talk about the dark web, and people think that that's some kind of myth, but it's real. So on the dark web, that's where they're looking for Zoom logins, emails, addresses, passwords, that information. So now I have to let people know that they have to make sure that their information hasn't been compromised. And a great tech guy here in Kansas City told me about a site called Have I Been Pwned? There's no vowel between the P and W. Have I Been Pwned.com. So basically you put your email address in there, and you can see all of the websites that you ever visit that your password may be compromised. So you're to go in and make sure your logins for your different accounts haven't been. Poshmark was on there, Canva was on there. I had to go in, you have to change passwords.
So let's say that again so our listeners
have I been pwned, PWNED. Have I been PWNED.com. Type in your email address, and it will give you a list of all of the websites that you visit or the ones that you're subscribed to. If there is a problem with the password, it's going to say, hey, there's a security issue. You need to get in and change your password.
I had no idea about that. So that's good information. Yeah. One of the things I wanted to touch on before we go into a little bit more deeper about the training is what you mentioned you're going to, some of the speaking things are still going to be on this year. Is NAR one of them, or?
I applied to speak there, so I don't know if I'm going to get selected, and that's in November. And I'm thinking, and I don't know if they're planning on it being virtual or in real life, or if they're still playing it by ear. I know that my Montana client, my Montana association, says we're going to be here in September, and September's Real Estate Safety Month. So they said, we're going to see you in September. We'll be fine by then. Again, I'm an Okie from Muskogee. I'm going to be going to Oklahoma again this year, and they're planning on it being in real life. I think that's the summer. They're planning on it being in real life, but we have a contingency plan. If it's not, we're going to go virtual. And then a few others are just not sure, but some are just saying we're doing this virtually no matter what. So let's plan it. And last year, Maria, usually I'm all over the place, but last year, the one place I went was South Dakota. That's the only in-person training that I did. And that was, I think, during Safety Month last year. And then this year, I really strongly feel that I'll be back on the road. And what I like is that the clients, the real estate companies or the associations, they're doing it safely. The classrooms can be socially distant. If necessary, they can wear masks in the classrooms. But the social distance part in the classroom, that was an adjustment for me, because I'm usually the girl who I get my steps in walking around the classroom with the mic. This time I had to stay in the front of the room. All of the students or agents were all socially distanced, spread out. It was a different experience, but we adapted. I adapted. We found a way to do our group discussion, not really in a group, come to the microphone and, be distant in line. So I adapted. But either way, I am looking forward to a busy year. And it looks like it's going to be a busy year. I love it when someone says, Tracey, we need you. And it's like, here I come.
Yeah, that's great. So what are some things that we can tell the agents that are listening that they can do right now to set themselves up to be safe?
Education. I can't say it enough. And there's got to be some kind of safety education. And I know for a while, the National Association of Realtors mandated safety education, I would say within the last 10 or so years. Within the last 5 or so years. I don't know if that's still a mandate, but when that first came out, it's like, yes, all associations and boards had to do that. There was no mandate for real estate companies. So companies, sometimes they took the mantle and said, Tracey, we want to do this for our agents. So I was pleased, and it's like I'm going to suddenly be super busy. But the problem is, in this industry, there are no criteria as to what you call a safety expert. So the challenge I had to deal with, and you can relate to this, Maria, think about FSBOs. FSBOs think, we can sell a house. How hard is it to put a sign in the yard and just collect the money, save the commission? So I had to deal with what I call the FSBO concept. I had people saying, oh, we can do our own safety. We have an agent who can read a mean PowerPoint, or we'll bring in local law enforcement. I have great respect for law enforcement, but this is a profession. This is what I do, and it's all that I do. Just like you wouldn't call 911 when you need the police, you need to call an expert when it's time for safety training. So my concern was just anyone talking about safety, and people were pulling slides and putting them together from what they found on the internet. And all I can say is, no, I'm a content creator. I live and breathe this. So I've written classes. And so I think that the number one thing that real estate agents can do is to get some kind of safety training, because for every time an agent said, oh, I didn't realize that, or I didn't know that, no one told me that, I didn't realize that was dangerous. And no one told me that the U.S. Department of Labor considers real estate sales and leasing a high risk hazardous occupation. So if you think about that, just sit with that for a minute. The U.S. Department of Labor says that the job that real estate agents do is high risk and hazardous. And then you think, but I've had so many agents say, I never thought about that. Then I have to remind them, your job description reads that you sit in empty houses and you wait for strangers to walk in. You meet complete strangers in empty houses. The job description alone is worth that categorization. But what I'm saying is, don't be afraid. Educate yourself. Know what you don't know. So that's where I come in. And I love getting the opportunity. And I'm determined, Maria, to reach 250,000 real estate agents this year with my message. And people think that's crazy, but it's not crazy if you think about the platforms that I have. I've been hired as a writer for The Close, CLOSE. It's a real estate publication, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. I am the safety writer. I am a contributing writer for the National Association of Realtors, Realtor Magazine. I had the most read article of the year back in 2017, the most read article of the year. It was right there in the top, and it was about male agent safety. So I'm looking at those numbers of people who I touch that way. I know I can reach it. And then that combined with, like you said, virtual. I am working with the Houston Association of Realtors for their safety program this year. Every quarter, they have 34,000 members. I know I won't reach them all, but my goal is to reach as many as possible. So I am doing things like that. It's an aggressive, goal, but it's got to happen. I am determined. I am determined to reach as many agents as possible with education. And I want education directors, I want sales trainers at real estate companies, brokers, managers, and owners, and I want real estate agents to know that safety training should be right there. You talk about marketing, you talk about the legal part of your business, you talk about filling out the forms correctly. Safety training needs to be right there without a hesitation, and it's not happened yet. So that's my mission in life.
I think that it's not something that people think about, because you want to think that, everybody's good and nothing like that can happen. But look at all of the fatalities that have happened over the last several years with real estate agents getting killed.
Even just think within the last 3 months, since December 28th, a real estate agent in Omaha was murdered. He was murdered when he went to go and I think deliver keys to a tenant. February 1st. Another male real estate agent was murdered. Again, he was delivering keys or paperwork to a tenant. So the first one was in Omaha. The second one in February, yes, in Omaha, Nebraska. The second one was in, I think it was Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So those two stories are male agents who have been murdered within the last 3 months. So that tells me that it's not stopping. And you look at the other crimes, and there is an influx of real estate agents reporting harassing and threatening phone calls and texts. And that's been within the last 30, 45 days. And I know this stuff because I live and breathe it. So no one was really talking about those phone calls, or Georgia, Pennsylvania, even Canada, and then most recently in Tennessee. So it's all over the place. No one's talking about it. No one's tied it together. So I work with a reporter at Inman, and I said, hey, here's a story. She said, I didn't know. It's like, I know, let's get it out there. So I think last week we did a story on the harassing phone calls, and I talked about ways to prevent and protect against those. So that's my job, to educate. No one's really talking about, oh, there are two male agents who have been murdered. No one's talking about it. That's what I do. And then last year, so people think that agents are okay because of this pandemic. They're working safely. I'm here to say that it's not time to be complacent. It's just not. And the weird thing is, I don't know if weird is the right word. When I was talking to an association about 5 or 6 years ago, the education director said, Tracey, I would love to have you. Your information is important. She said, but it doesn't make good business sense. And it's like, what are you talking about? She said, agents will only show up for training if you teach them how to make more money. So I had to let that settle for a minute. And it's like, okay, now, Tracey, what are you going to do with that?
What are you
Exactly. So the question is, how do you make safety profitable? I put on my thinking cap, Maria. I created a designation. It's the country's only real estate safety designation. And the goal is to teach real estate agents how to be safe, how to protect the consumer, and how to make more money doing so. I have over 600 agents who've completed my designation across the country. And the bottom line is, I'm telling you that you need to be safe. Here's how you add an extra layer. Protect the consumer. Here's how you protect the seller. I created a seller safety checklist. So when you walk into a listing appointment, you're not saying the same thing everyone else is saying. Here's the net profit. Here's the marketing plan. Here's what we're going to do. No. You're walking in the door talking about, here's how we're going to keep you, your family, and your possessions safe while your house is on the market. Here's a checklist. Put away your jewelry, put away medicine, get it out of medicine cabinets, get that paperwork, those stacks of paperwork that are just around the house. They have financial information. Get them out of sight so no one steals your identity. I am talking to agents about how to get FSBOs to convert to listings. I created, as a content creator, that's so important. I created a safety tip sheet. Here's 12 safety tips that FSBOs need to know to be safe while they're selling their house. And if you think about it, FSBOs, they're focused solely on saving that commission. They're not thinking that we're putting our family in danger. We're going to have strangers walking through the house where our kids are. We don't know what we don't know. So I'm telling real estate agents, take this sheet that I created for you. Staple your business card to it. When you see a FSBO, get out of your car, hand it to them, put it in their door handle, mail it to them, whatever, but let them know that you're looking out for them. So here's how we get to serve the community. I'm looking out for you. And here's some 12 safety tips that you really need to know. Don't let strangers in your house without screening them. Put your valuables away. Let someone know when you're showing. Make sure your escape route isn't blocked. By the time they get to number 12, they're thinking, whoa, we didn't know this was so dangerous. What are we doing? And then there's a business card attached to that handout. And they're going to call, more than likely, if they're going to call anyone, they're going to call the one who was looking out for them. And then I wrote an article about that in Realtor magazine. And I tell people to search my name on Realtor, nar.realtor. Go to the website, search my name. You will find these articles that help you use the content that I created. And it teaches you how to do it. And then I've given away thousands upon thousands of those FSBO safety sheets. So I'm telling, I had to rise to the occasion and tell agents how to make more money being safe. And I did that. I tied that directly to protecting the consumer. I tell them to lead with safety, always be top of mind. And the statistic, what is it? 13% of the clients who buy a house from a real estate agent down the line, when they want to buy another house, only 13% of them will go back to that agent because they haven't thought about them in years. I'm telling agents to lead with safety. Share safety content either on a monthly or a quarterly basis. And then I talk so much. And then that's something that I help them with because I'm a content creator. I'm a writer. So I say, hey, let's work together. I can provide you these safety tips. I can provide you this content on a regular basis. You turn around and, like you said, repurpose it. You share that with the consumer. So you're telling them, here are the latest scams and frauds, and this is coming from your real estate agent. You're not talking about business. You're saying, I'm looking out for you. Here is safety information that everyone can use. Do that on a regular basis. And guess what? When it's time to sell, they see you all the time, not asking for anything, but helping them. So that's one of my latest endeavors, is to provide content for real estate agents. And I'm working on doing that on a subscription basis. So they get an email every month with safety tips, and they in turn copy paste it in their email to their clients, or just forward that on to their clients, with a hi, how are you doing?
That's a great idea.
I have to do something. I have to do something.
You have a lot of energy, Tracey, and you seem extremely sincere and about what you do, and you have just a really nice way about you, and the passion shines through in the way that you talk. I love it.
Thank you.
That one of the things that we did for many years, and I'm glad we're talking today because it reminds me that we need to start doing it, but we would say, if you ever had a problem at a property, call if you're not able to call 911, call the office and just say, oh, I'm calling about the red file. 3 Main Street.
The red file kind of scares me, Maria, and let me tell you why. As you know, I do this in real life across the country. I get to talk to literally thousands of agents a year, literally. So we talk about this red file. The point of the red file, like you're saying, it's supposed to be a distress signal. It's a code, a secret code. So if you were in danger in the field, you would call the office, like you said, and say, hey, I need the red file. The person on the other end is supposed to know, oh my God, Maria's in trouble. Let me get her help. So that was the discreet way of doing it. There was a story that happened in a small town in Missouri where a real estate agent had a new client. She was going to show him 3 properties. At the first property, he raped her. He said, we're going to the next property. We're going to do it again. She said, wait, I need to call my office and, make sure everything's okay there. She picked up the phone. She called her office and she said, hey, this is so-and-so agent. I need the red file. The person on the other end said, what are you talking about? They went to the second house, and fortunately, coincidentally, another agent walked in and she took off, leaving that agent with a rapist. Fortunately, nothing happened. But the lesson learned there is that a red file is a whole process. Everybody needs to be on board. And I say we need to banish the red file, just honestly, because if real estate agents are familiar with that process, then perpetrators know about it too. And if you're standing in front of them and they're ready to commit a crime and you're saying, I want to do I need the red file, they know what you're doing. They're going to escalate the attack. What I say is use technology instead. Use technology to do the same thing. I'm afraid there are so many safety apps out there. It's the new thing. There's so many of them, and I don't necessarily agree with the way most of them work. If you push a button, when you're in trouble, your emergency contact gets a notification, and then by then the crime is already in progress. So something's happening that makes you push the button. So your contacts, if they even have their phones handy, they're pretty much going to get directions to the scene of a crime. I don't like that. I found there's a company, I didn't find it, but I found it during my research that says that's not the way to do it. So this company is called Agent Safe Walk. Agent Safe Walk. And I had to stop and think, wait a minute, this is specifically for agents? Let me find out. What they do is they have a live person on the phone. You're looking at them. So if you've done all of your homework, everybody by now I think knows about forewarn. You put a phone number in, you get a soft background or a criminal check, so you know before you meet someone whether or not they have a criminal history. That's a great first step. But let's say you're in an open house or you're at a property with someone and something just doesn't feel right. That's the number one thing I teach. Trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, your body's hardly ever wrong. Find an excuse, get out of that situation. But let's say you're standing there, you're a little uncomfortable. Pick up your phone, push the button, and all of a sudden, with this Agent Safe Walk, there's a person there looking at you on the phone, just like we're talking now. And you can say, hey, Susie, safety partner, this is, a client, meet my partner. So all of a sudden, we've introduced a witness, a live witness right there. So the person who may mean you harm, they see that you're not alone, and they know that someone knows your GPS location. That's the kind of safety app that's proactive that I like. So something like that, built specifically for the industry that helps you be proactive before there's a problem. You're not alerting someone there's a problem. You're preventing a problem. So I like that. So I'm always talking about what tools are out there to help you be safe in this whole virtual world that we are living in now. That's actually adding another level of safety. So I kind of like that.
I have a question. I was in a Facebook group the other day, and there was a conversation going on, hundreds and hundreds of comments about when you go to a house with the buyers, do you lock the front door? And there was some people said, yes, you lock the front door. Other people say, no, you leave the key in the front door with the door open. This is all because they were talking about what safety is. They stand near the door. They let the buyers walk around. Other people lock the door behind them. People don't go in basements with people. All different. There was a lot of conversation, a lot of chatter about this. And I want to know your thoughts.
I need to know which group, because I thought I was in all of the, as many groups as possible. Which one?
Lab Coat Agents.
Oh, I'm in that one. I think they kicked me out. I was sharing too much safety tips, and I'm almost positive they kicked me. I've got a warning or two, but Lab Coat Agents, yes. So here's my perspective on that. For the rule is to follow your gut, but here's the deal. If you are showing a property in an area where there's a lot of loitering or foot traffic, when you're inside with your screened client, the client that you've already done a background check, you've done your homework, and you know they're legitimate clients. When you're inside with that client, then you can lock the door to keep any outside people out. But let's say it's a client that you didn't have an opportunity to screen, and you're just kind of not sure, you haven't followed the safety protocols. In that situation, it may behoove you to keep the door open. And then also when you're showing, you need to make sure you always allow the client to lead. Clients go first. And I say that because nothing should ever block your escape route, whether it's the door you came in, front door, back door, nothing ever should block your escape route. That needs to be drilled in and be a habit when you're showing property. So in that situation, if you have to leave in a hurry, you can get out of the door without a problem, without hesitation. There was, and I know all of the stories about the agents and the situations, an agent who in Colorado, who was showing a property, and then the guy, they're up in a bedroom, and he pulls out a knife and he pulls out a can of pepper spray. Okay, so she needed to be able to get out of there. She pulled out her gun, okay, and she was shooting at him. So she had to be able to get out of that house in a hurry. So what I say is that your gut will tell you which is right. To lock the door it's appropriate sometimes, but there's no hard and fast answer. You can't always lock the door. When it comes to open houses, you know that you let the client roam through the house. And some people say, well, what about my sellers? I need to protect their stuff. If you take your listing, and we talk about this is part of my tools for listing to convert those sellers to listings, you're talking to your sellers about getting valuables out of sight. Get the jewelry out of jewelry boxes, medicine out of medicine cabinets. You've had that talk with them. Anything of value should not be in your house. Guns should be locked up somewhere, weapons, everything. Even I had an agent who said she will not work in a kitchen where there's a butcher block of knives. So anything of value out of sight, anything of danger out of sight. So you don't have to follow them through the house for an open house. And when someone else is showing or you're showing, you don't have to follow them because you don't have to worry about protecting the seller's valuables, which you're not responsible for anyway, per the listing agreement. So you can stay at the door if you're more comfortable doing that. You can walk with them as long as you stay behind them and have your escape route open and available.
So I think one of the things that you have to, as an agent, be aware is listen to your intuition.
That's the number one thing.
I was at a listing appointment about a decade ago or so. Mm-hmm. It was so scary and the people were so weird. And then I was in the basement at one point. And you know what? I turned around and I marched my ass right out of there.
Right.
And I said, they said, my office said, what happened? I said, I left. I was scared. And I'm not a scared type of person. Like,
right.
I roll with it. I sell multifamily investment property. So I was showing a multifamily investment property probably around a decade ago-ish. Mm-hmm. A 5-unit building or something, not in like the best area. And I walk in on the tenant laying on the bed or the couch, whatever it was, half naked, smoking a joint with a gun sitting on his lap.
Oh, my.
Oh, sorry. I slammed the door shut. I did not. Real estate. Because that's when you were showing tenant occupied property, you got to.
Right.
And you yell, real estate. Anyway.
Right. But I mean, first of all, congratulations on trusting your gut. You didn't talk yourself out of it. I'm going to look silly. I'm going to look weak. You listened to your body. Your gut said get out. You got out. Good for you. Explain, apologize later if you need to. You also said something about a bad area. Let me say this, Maria, that sometimes agents get complacent. They say I'm only in good neighborhoods or it's daylight, only showing the daylight. When I look at crimes that occur against real estate agents, they're happening everywhere. Good area, bad area. And you need to remember, as long as criminals have cars, any area is game. Sometimes the better neighborhoods, that's where the good stuff is. So you need to be careful there. So everyone needs to pay attention all the time. Also, don't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes people say, well, if they look weird or if they have too many tattoos, too many piercings, they're dressed weird or they're disheveled, then I'm going to be careful. I'm telling you to be careful no matter what. Don't judge a book by its cover. If you judge a book by its cover, the perfect examples that I use, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, used to show up in a beat up pickup truck, overalls. And if you judge that book by its cover, you're thinking he can't afford this house. You would have been wrong. Another one, Ted Bundy. Everyone described serial killer Ted Bundy as clean cut, charming, good looking guy. If you judge that book by its cover, it would have gotten you in trouble. Number one thing, just like you said, gut. Your gut is going to know before you do. Don't try to use reason. Don't try to use logic. Just your gut says something's wrong. You got the hair standing up on your arms, the back of your neck, your heart's pounding, and your gut's just saying, listen to it. If you don't do anything else that you hear me say, listen to your body, get out of it, apologize, make an excuse later, whatever you need to do. Trust your gut. That's the number one safety tool I lead every program with.
I think even the most experienced brokers and agents sometimes walk into situations where they go, okay, this is odd. We walked in about 2 years ago into a big building, about 30,000 square feet, and it was dark. And he's leading us around with the like his phone, flashlight, a flashlight. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope we don't get killed while we're in this building. And maybe we were, I don't know if there was overreacting. Nothing happened, by the way. And he's just a strange, odd man and not a killer or anything like that. But I did have like that trepidation of, oh, this seems weird. Probably shouldn't go in the building because it was fall. So in Philadelphia at 6 o'clock, it was dark. At that point, or 5 o'clock, it was already dark. And so, thinking about that, you remember these things, though. These things don't leave you. So I think that if an agent remembers when something like that happened and their sweaty palms start to happen, like you said, and they have all these things and the hair standing up, that you should get the heck out of there.
Right. And a lot of times so many agents say, well, I didn't know, I shouldn't have done that, or I wasn't supposed to do that. That's where education comes in. That's where expert-led education, someone like me who lives and breathes that, I know the stories. I can list all the stories of crimes against agents last year and even this year alone. So it scares me when someone says, oh, Tracey, we already have safety training covered. And it's like, oh, okay, who's doing it for you? Oh, Susie, the agent, she's just going to do it. Or we're going to use this PowerPoint that's created and we'll just have one of my agents read it. And to that I say, please, just like you want the home sellers to trust you as a professional, your experience to sell their property, trust an expert agent, educator who knows what they're doing, because this is a liability issue. I had to create a broker manager owner safety workshop to help leadership not get sued successfully after a real estate agent was met with a horrible fate and her family sued the real estate company for negligence. They said, had there been safety education, that we know that she more than likely would have been alive today. So I put on my thinking cap again, and here I am in survival mode. It's like, how can I reach those owners? Let me teach you how to protect your office, the actual physical office space. Let's talk about protecting the contents, the equipment inside, the people inside, not just the agents. Let's talk about setting up a safety practices training for your agents. So if something happened to them, they can't say, well, my boss, they never told me, so they get sued. No, you're going to not only have a training program in place. I created a handbook, a safety manual, an office safety policy that all of those leaders get at the end of the training. And then you're going to talk to your agents. If something happens, you can say, look, they signed off. I provided expert-led safety training, and I did this, this, and this. So I am not liable. So that's something else I had to do in the whole world of pivoting after I read about them getting sued. And it's like, I can help you put that together. Who's going to talk about it? No one's talking about it but me, Maria. So I'm out here, and
it's not sexy, and it's not a shiny object.
Thank you for saying that. I feel weird saying it. People always say that safety isn't sexy, and it typically isn't, but it can save lives. So my calendar should be busy. My calendar should be full. I should be busy, but so often it's not, because people relegate it to the sidelines, or we'll get to it later, or they'll wait till there's a story in the news. And I'm saying, no. Let's be proactive. It will save you money. It helps you recruit. You can show agents coming in who are maybe scared. Don't worry. We have a safety program in place. It'll help you retain agents because they see you care about their safety, and it increases morale. When agents have the tools that they need to work safely, they're going to work for you. They're going to be faithful and loyal to you. So I have to do a whole mindset shift in this industry to look at safety in a totally different way. It's not an afterthought, and it's not something we only do during Safety Month in September, and it's not something we do when there's news of an attack. It's something that's ingrained in our business. We're doing it on a regular basis. So I'm trying to grow that, and I'm looking for like industry partners, to help me, who are also looking to spread the word. So it could be companies that have safety security of agents in mind. Let's work together. Let's work together and let's reach all of those companies and associations, even those who don't have budgets. How many times have I heard someone say, Tracey, I'd love to hire you, but we just don't have a budget for that. And it's like, this is how I make a living, but I will work with you. But then there's some who just can't do anything. So I say, if I get some partners who are in this industry who want to reach these agents, these same people, I want to work with them. So that's my number one push right now, is finding partners who will help fund, safety for these companies who truly want safety. So I'm doing that. And I'm also suddenly popular property management safety. These last two agents who were murdered, they're property managers. They're going to give tenants keys, pick up keys. So that's a big deal. And I don't know if it's true where you live, but this tenant movement is all over the country. It's big here in Kansas City, where that tenant rent strike and housing should be free, and the landlords are the bad guys. My sister is a housing provider, so she's not only an agent, she has houses, and she's dealing with people who can't pay their rent. They're saying, we're not leaving, rent should be free. And there's a movement. They're hostile now. They're protesting landlords like her, saying you shouldn't be profiting off of property. We should live for free. It's a right. They're going to the judge's house, is 100 strong on the judge's porch, saying, you shouldn't be doing this, the eviction docket. Attorneys who are helping with foreclosures, or not foreclosures, who are helping evict people legally, they're getting targeted. So it's getting more hostile in the property management world. So my property management training is popular now. And just getting the word out that, that you need to be careful, because there's like a bullseye on you if you're a property owner, a landlord, or my sister calls them housing providers as opposed to landlord. So that's a whole nother area that's growing for me, Maria. I'm helping them be safe in the property management world.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't realize that. And but that's what people say, I didn't know that. I had no idea. You're not supposed to know. That's my job to know. And then my job is to teach everyone out there, leadership, to let you know this is what's going on and let me help you.
I think it's really important, Tracey. I'm happy to introduce you to some people. We don't talk about it, like I said, because it isn't sexy and it isn't fun. But I think that it should be mandatory. It's not something that I've recently have trained people on. We are growing our company, so it's going to be something that we're going to have as part of our training for sure in our workplace. I think it's really important. The last thing you want is to have, something happen to somebody and that be on your watch. That's just a terrible thing. So, yeah.
And it's preventable. It's preventable. It's as simple as emailing me or calling me, Tracey. And with the virtual world, one day I was in Florida one morning, in Oregon the afternoon. So in the virtual world, I don't think there is such a thing.
You can Zoom anywhere. You can Zoom to Italy if you want.
Exactly. Right? So So safety education, expert-led safety education is accessible, and again, I can't say it enough. It's got to be someone who, if you get sued, you have to have an expert on the witness stand who is saying, I helped them, I did this, they did that, as opposed to Susie, real estate agent, on the stand. This is what we did to protect our agents. That's not good enough. That's not going to help you in a legal situation. And then agents know when you invest in safety, when you're just doing it automatically. Oh, just watch this PowerPoint and then we call it safety, or read a safety tip. They know when there's an expert who lives and breathes it. So that's just my what is it? Unique selling proposition. That's my mission.
It's fantastic. Your energy is contagious.
And it's 7 a.m. here, and I'm not a morning girl.
Yeah, well, you made it happen. So we started doing these at 8 because it's busy, and I think people are, getting up and at it here a little bit earlier, and we have a lot going on. I thank you today for all this great information. It has been extremely helpful, and I look forward to speaking with you more, offline about how we can do some things together. And I am really glad that you have taken the bull by the horns to pull this all together, because I don't know anybody else in the industry that's doing this, Tracey. And there is so much. There's 2 million real estate agent licenses, right? There's new licensees every week, every day, every month moving into companies, and they don't know. So maybe some of the agents that have been around know, but certainly the new people don't. They have no idea how this job can be very hazardous and deadly, unfortunately. So it's
But it doesn't have to
job
be.
as leadership is to educate and make sure that we did our part and that we're not part of the problem, but we are part of the solution. So thank you for being on Be the Solution podcast today. I look forward to talking with you in the near future.
And thank you for valuing safety enough to wake up with me and let me say this. I appreciate you, Maria.
Thank you so much, Tracey. We'll see you real soon.
Okay, be safe.
Be safe.